Right, organizations. Ooh, right. Cerberus, Atlas. With the Atlas, Cerberus research arm has combined the deadly armour and firepower of a mere mech with the tactical superiority of a trained human pilot. An Element Zero code allows the Atlas to be airdropped into the battlefield with minimal impact damage. Its thick armour includes a robust transparent canopy made from a polycrystalline composite proprietary to Cerberus. Apologise about that. Alliance engineers hypothesise that the material is some kind of synthetic sapphire composed with interlayers to resist cracking and thermal damage. Although the Atlas is somewhat unwieldy in the field, its anti-personnel machine guns and ability to shrug off damage from anything short of a heavy weapon make it a fearsome opponent. Heavy loss of life is to be expected in any unprepared encounter with this unit. Centurion. Centurions are Cerberus's front-line tacticians. They are meant to enact the elusive man's strategic goals, although it is clear that they have leeway to adapt as encounter develops. The only intelligence that the Alliance has gathered in Centurions relates to their armament. Each Centurion carries an N96 Mattock heavy rifle modified to launch smoke grenades, leaving enemies vulnerable to crossfire. Engineer. Cerberus combat engineers are specialised support units that assist primary forces while staying out of the line of fire. They wear lighter armour than the typical Cerberus combatant, using a modified mesh that allows greater mobility. Under cover and out of sight, engineers focus on setting up and maintaining turrets as well as repairing mechanical units or armoured allies. When confronted, they return fire only for as long as it takes them to find cover again, and let frontline combat personnel take over. Although engineers are not particularly dangerous on their own, the Alliance specifically warn troops to remain alert for turrets, which can mow down an entire squad while the engineer escapes. A Guardian. Guardians, the Cerberus equivalent of human tanks, are slow-moving soldiers who carry enormous polycrystalline composite shields. The weight of the shield requires an armoured suit equipped with hydraulic assists and dedicated power supply. Combining this exceptional protection with a suite of enviro-mapping systems, Guardians focus on flanking opponents to flush them from cover. The Guardian's slow but relentless approach is intended to demoralise enemies as well as draw their fire, but rip away their shield, and Guardians become little more than cannon fodder. The Nemesis. The Nemesis is a Cerberus sniper specialist. Customised implants allow the Nemesis to withstand the crippling kickback of the M98 Widow anti-material rifle, turning a redoubtable opponent into a force capable of inflicting instant death. A suite of high-tech scanning equipment makes the sniper adept at maintaining cover, meaning a Nemesis is usually spotted only after opening fire, assuming the target survives the first round. Because of a self-destruct mechanisms that activate upon the sniper's death, the Alliance has never retrieved an example of Nemesis augmentation technology. This fact, combined with Cerberus's forces' penchant for suicide when faced with capture, has made scientific study of their implants impossible. And the Basic Trooper. Assault troopers are the backbone of Cerberus forces. Those candidates who make it through the grueling basic training are submitted to an intense psychological program that renders them fearless, disciplined and unrelenting. Outfitted with custom-designed armour and rifles, these soldiers function with determined precision and practiced teamwork. The first to rush into a fight, assault troopers often work in tandem with more powerful units. They make strategic use of this scenario, keeping their opponents occupied until it's too late to react to the combined Cerberus force bearing down on them. Planets and locations. Ea. Humans detected Ea as an Earth-type world via telemetry in 2165. After probe surveys indicated life, lush vegetation, ample fresh water and breathable air, the Alliance upgraded the planet to a garden world colonization priority. Commanded by Captain Ronald Taylor, the crew of Alliance survey vessel Hugo Gernsback made planetfall in the jungle world in 2173. Soon after, ship transmissions inexplicably stopped. While the precise fate of the Hugo Gernsback command and crew is unknown, they are presumed killed in action and their vessel destroyed. Pharos. Pharos is a habitable world in the Attican Beta cluster. 2/3 of the habitable surface is covered with the ruins of a crumbling protean megatropolis. In the millennia since the protean extinction, The ruins have been picked over by the looters many times. Pharos was considered a poor prospect for colonisation, as little open ground remains for agriculture. The only sizable freshwater sources are the poles, which are tapped by the decaying Prothean aqueduct systems. The dead cities, while in good condition, considering their antiquity, are of uncertain stability. Ground level is congested by a dozen metres of fallen debris, and the air is filled by dust. In 2178, the Human Exogeny Corporation announced its intention to place a permanent colony in Pharos to thoroughly explore the ruins. The pioneer settlement is placed on the upper levels of several intact skyscrapers, using the surviving Prothean aqueducts and rooftop hydroponic gardens to support the population. Freedom's Progress. The Freedom's Progress colony was once a typical Alliance settlement, but following complete communications blackout and its apparent destruction, it is now a lightning rod for anxiety and dread in the galactic human community. The communications blackout followed an upgrade of the colony's small military force, supplemented by mechs and security drones, with high-powered, tower-mounted Guardian lasers. Colonists complained about construction cost overruns, delays, noise, and damage to the local environment. They also feared the defence array could be seen as provocative to their world neighbours. Such fears may not have been baseless. Authorities have still offered no explanation for the communications blackout, fueling rumours of plagues, natural disasters, or occult-inspired mass suicide. Located strategically in significant space, Freedom's Progress colony has once offered residents spectacular rainbows, lush marshlands and stunning mountain ranges. Its potential as an agricultural settlement and tourism wonderland rivaled that of any Alliance colony. Hastrum. Before the Geth Revolt 300 years ago, the Quarians colonised Hastrum to study the mysterious instability of its sun, which threatened premature eruption into a red giant. As a scientific outpost of minimal military value, Hastrum was ill-equipped to repel Geth forces during the insurrection, and fell quickly under their control. Captured Geth planetary survey data indicates that despite sustaining damage, Hastrum's architecture remains as it was before the war, preserving a Quarian architectural style that no longer exists anywhere else in the galaxy. Because Hastrum's sun has overwhelmed the planet's protective magnetosphere, humans foolhardy enough to venture into Geth-controlled Hastrum must exercise extreme caution. Minutes of radiation exposure will overload shields and hours of exposure will kill. Furthermore, solar output renders surface-to-orbit communication nearly impossible. Ilium, a regional hub of Asari commerce, awash in riches. Ilium is infamous for its abusive labour practices and legalisation of nearly everything except murder. As such, Ilium is preferred production site for weapons and pharmaceuticals that would be illegal nearly everywhere else, made even more lucrative by illegal indentured servitude. Among the biotics related to pharmaceutical producers is the Dantes Corporation, a rising star in galactic commerce. Despite the dangers of its products, Ilium is renowned for glamour, luxury and safety, provided by near-total surveillance, making it a favoured tourist destination. Countless celebrities maintain palatial estates in Ilium, and in its capital, Nosastra, the sole obstacle to business in Ilium is its extensive bureaucracy, tolerated only for its provision of security. Regardless of the character of its economy, Ilium's self-congratulatory media exalts its own society with the provincial arrogance of new money, glorifying in sexiest CEOs and 10 richest residents lists. Ilos. Like the ancient city of Troy, Ilos is a world known only through second-hand sources. References to Ilos have been found at several other Prothean ruins, though direct study of the world is unlikely to occur. Ilos lies in a remote area of the Terminus systems, only accessible by the legendary Mu relay. 4,000 years ago the Mu relay was knocked out of position by a supernova and lost. Since then, Ilos and its cluster have been inaccessible. Occasionally, the University will organise an expedition to chart a route to Ilos using conventional FTL drive. These never get beyond the planning stages due to the distance and danger. The journey could take years or decades, passing through the hostile terminus systems and dozens of unexplored systems. Corliss. Known as the Starcraft Cemetery. Corliss was the regional toxic junkyard for centuries. Ships reaching astronautical near-death at connecting mass relays were sent to Corliss, stripped of every useful component, and then dumped planetward to clear shipping lanes. Currently, Corliss hosts numerous merc factions such as the Blue Suns, rumoured to be using downed ship fossils to test advanced munitions. Massive gun batteries threaten anyone attempting planetfall, with minimal defences against ground attack. Because ancient volcanism greenhoused the planet, Corliss was too hot and CO2 rich to develop a biosphere, despite the abundant lakes that could have sponsored the development of life. Now cool enough for protected habitation, but too scorching for anyone but extremophiles and mercenaries seeking secrecy, Corliss supports numerous Krogan outposts. The Krogan have therefore seeded Corliss with hardy Varren, often kept as warhounds. Varren live primarily on a diet of geophagious vermin and each other. Noveria. Noveria is a cool rocky world, with most of its hydrosphere locked up in massive glaciers. A privately chartered colony world, the planet is owned by the Noveria Development Corporation holding company. The NDC is funded by investment capital from 24 high technology development firms and administered by its executive board representing their interests. The investors built remote hot labs in isolated locations across Noveria's surface. These facilities are used for research too dangerous or controversial to be performed elsewhere, as Noveria is technically not part of Citadel space and therefore exempt from Council law. By special arrangement, Citadel Special Tactics and Reconnaissance agents have been granted extraterritorial privileges, but it remains to be seen how committed the Executive Board is to that principle. Given its unique situation, it is understandable that Noveria is often implicated in all manner of vile conspiracy theories. Omega. Originally an asteroid rich in element 0, Omega was briefly mined by the Protheans, who eventually abandoned it due to its thick impenetrable crust. Thousands of years later, nature did what even the Protheans could not. A collision with another asteroid broke Omega in half, exposing its trove of element 0 for easy mining. A rush ensued as corporations and private individuals tried to strike it rich on Omega, and thieves and outlaws followed in their wake. As space became tight, construction of processing facilities extended vertically from the asteroid, creating Omega's jellyfish-like silhouette. To prevent future collisions, the station is ringed with enormous Mass Effect field generators that redirect incoming debris. Today, Omega is a major hub of narcotics, weapons, and ezo-trafficking, without even a pretense of civilian government or military control. Only mercenary groups have been able to instill a limited order. The most ruthless is an Asari syndicate run by the notorious Arya Talok. Pragia. Choked by the hypergrowth of non-native plants, Pragia serves as a galactic reminder about the imperative for careful regulation during colonization. 2 centuries ago, Batarian agribusiness chose uninhabited Pragia as their empire's breadbasket. Colonization authorities introduced non-native, industrially mutated plants that flourished in the world's fertile volcanic soil. Synergizing with Pragia's natural geothermal conditions and chemotrophic microbes, the imported species soon became a nightmare. Mutant strains of poisonous and even carnivorous plants arose, overgrowing colonies in days instead of years, and causing the Batarians to abandon their holdings. Because the planet's small animal population is insufficient to check its plant growth, Alliance ecologists predict soil exhaustion in 400 years. Due to its relative isolation and lack of population, Pragia has become a regional haven for drug runners, weapons smugglers, pirates, mercenaries, terrorists, and intelligence agents seeking secrecy. Rakana. The Drell homeworld of Rakana once teemed with life, its arid plains home to spectacular insect and reptile analogues, but the Drell took to industrialization early and did not realise the extent of environmental damage they caused until it was too late. With their topsoil depleted and oceans too acidic to sustain life, The Drell were situated for a massive population crash by 2025 CE. It was then that the Hanar stepped in, mounting a large-scale operation to bring Drell to the Hanar homeworld, Kaji. As wars erupted over what resources remained in Rakana and billions began to die, approximately 375,000 Drell escaped in the Exodus. To repay their debt, the Drell entered into an agreement with the Hanar called the Compact. It states that the Drell would assist the Hanar with tasks the Hanar cannot physically perform. Today, high-ranking Hanar are often inseparable from their Drell attendants. Sanctum. Sanctum is known for the freezing ice storms which sweep across its poles and temperate zones, with only a thin strip of habitable land across the equator. Because of those harsh conditions, Sanctum attracts only those most gruff and hardy, from miners to mercenaries to company men. Mining, referred to as ice cracking, anywhere but the equator, is the backbone of Sanctum's economy. The planet is rich in platinum and palladium deposits, as well as boron, which is locally used in semiconductor doping. Sanctum's corporate factions have learned that Cerberus is involved in the planet's finances. Systems Alliance intelligence agents embedded within the corporate strata are quietly urging the companies to confront Cerberus directly. But so far, financial bickering has kept Sanctum's major stakeholders from acting against the elusive man. Terminus systems. The Terminus systems are located in the far side of the Attican Traverse, beyond the space administered by Citadel Council or claimed by the Human Systems Alliance. It is populated by a loose affiliation of minor species, united only in their refusal to acknowledge the political authority of the Council or adhere to the Council conventions. The Citadel conventions, sorry. Their independence comes at a price. The Terminus is fraught with conflict. War among the various species is common, as government and dictators constantly rise and fall. The region is a haven for illegal activities, particularly piracy and the slave trade. At least once a year, a fleet from the Terminus invades the nearby Attican Traverse. These attacks are typically small raids against poorly defended colonies. The Council rarely retaliates, as sending patrols into the Terminus systems could unify the disparate species against their common foe, triggering a long and costly war. The Migrant Fleet. The Flotilla, or the Migrant Fleet, is a fleet of roughly 50,000 starships that houses over 17 million Quarians, the largest collection of starfaring vessels in the galaxy. The fleet is so large that it may take days for all the ships to pass through a mass relay. The ships are constantly repaired, replaced, and upgraded to comfortably house as many Quarians as possible. Typically, ships specialise in roles for the fleet, from the enormous agricultural live ships to the shielded lab ships to the repurposed freighters known as home ships that house Quarian children, young parents and educators. Employed Quarians typically live in ship that they work on, since commuting from ship to ship ties up resources with the necessary docking procedures. Even within the flotilla, Quarians on most ships will remain encased in their protective suits. Rarely, Quarians will meet on clean ships for specific purposes such as medical services or reproduction. When this occurs, they remove their suits, knowing full well that it's likely they will spend a few days having allergic reactions or getting over infections as their weakened immune system compensates for each other's presence. The Perseus Veil. As vast in natural beauty as it is in threat, the purple and gold nebula called the Perseus Veil forms the natural border between Geth space and the Terminus systems. The Veil's total opacity prevents Council intelligence from surveying Geth activity. Theoretically, the Geth could be preparing a devastating attack against the Council. Could be defenceless. Against which the Council could be defenceless. Or the Geth could have died out, so the defence budget against them could be gaining the Alliance nothing but economic ruination. Despite fears of Geth, prospectors do occasionally mount salvage ventures inside the Veil. One ended in tragedy. Using techno-mental domination, the Geth drew the team into the Veil before aiming them back as husks at the organic society that produced them. A leaked classified Spectre report claims that the Dreadnought Sovereign, commanded by ex-Spectre Sarin Arterius and crewed by Geth, hid near the Veil before initiating the 2183 Citadel attack. Vermeer. Vermeer is a lush world located in the frontier of the Attican Traverse. Its vast seas and orbital position of the inner life zone have created a wide equatorial band of humid tropical terrain. Only the political instability of the region has impeded efforts at colonisation. Many times, the Citadel has opened negotiations to settle Vermeer with the various criminal gangs and petty dictatorships in the nearby Terminus systems. All fell apart due to internal power shifts within opposing parties. The Citadel has written off the colonisation of Vermeer as impossible without significant political change. The Terminus powers themselves are unlikely to ever settle Vermeer, most lack the resources to support settlement of a virgin world, finding it more expedient to steal from their neighbours than build for themselves.